Hey, welcome to the Lifestyle Creation Podcast, designing life on your terms. I'm your host, Jamie Thurber, and I'm an expert operations manager, productivity queen, mindset, business, and lifestyle coach. Basically, getting shit done is my jam. And I believe in the power of intentional living and in real conversations that can shift your perspective, create habits, and ultimately achieve the freedom that you want in every area of your life. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Jamie Thurber here. Thank you for tuning in. Big deep breaths. It's super early in the morning while I'm recording this, and the sun is blinding me, but it feels good. So wherever you are, I'm just sending lots of love and good vibes to you, and ask that you take a deep breath and release any tension that you're holding in your shoulders and in your face. That's just your reminder, because we do that all day long, and sometimes if I can offer you a quick reminder for it, no matter what, you're in the middle of, I definitely want to always do my best to do that. So today, I want to talk to you guys about words. Words, but also it's words, thoughts, things you're speaking, things you're thinking, things you're writing, right? And I remember years ago, a friend of mine who is an editor said words matter. And I believe when she said it initially, she was talking about the type of words you use and how you use them in sentences and in what you're trying to describe, right? In that type of setting where you're writing a blog post or an article or a book, right? But over the years, I've found myself saying that all the time. And it's now just a thing I teach, and it's a thing that I believe. And it's to the extent of words matter, and they hold a lot of weight when it comes to what we're saying about ourselves, about things in our lives, and also what we're thinking about ourselves and things in our lives. So this is a little bit of psychology. This is a little bit of subconscious. This is a little bit of manifestation and law of attraction, all mixed in together, which personally, in my experiences, are all insanely similar in my world. They're all like best friends holding hands in a circle, basically. But so the concept and what I wanted to just say today was that I think we are sometimes oblivious to the value or the weight that the words that we're saying out loud or thinking in our head hold. So example, if Fridays are your favorite day and every other day sucks, you're preaching that into your mind as truth, right? If you're the worst at insert thing here, you're confirming to yourself that you're the worst. Most of the time when we do that stuff, it's like a defense mechanism. We feel uncomfortable. Not the Friday thing, but I'm so bad at this, or I'm the worst at this, or I'm such a bitch, or I'm such an asshole. Ha ha ha, it's so funny. A lot of those words that we're saying out loud is a defense mechanism. Most of the time it comes out because we're uncomfortable, or because we don't want to do things differently, or because we don't know how to explain what we're actually feeling, or we're scared somebody might judge us if we do, blah, 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 right? There's a lot of things. But I do care about the reasons, and I like to break that down for people. But the whole thing I wanted to say here is why? Why do we say these things out loud that are actually not nice? We laugh afterwards and we think it's funny, but it's not funny. And the words are pointless in that matter. So if we're constantly basically talking shit about ourselves, what do we think our subconscious mind is believing? It doesn't know the difference between kidding and not kidding. And when we do that, we strengthen that belief inside of us that we're actually the worst, or we actually are hopeless, or we're stupid, or we're dumb, or we're lazy, or we're an asshole or a bitch or whatever. And it's when you take it and you break that down and you change the language, everything shifts. So I do this a lot with people in different coaching experiences, especially when they first have come into my space, or when I'm doing a live event and people are sharing with me things that they're, wanting to work on, or things they're wanting to build, or stuff they're struggling with, or whatever. A lot of the language and the way that they word it is so lackluster, like it's not even funny. Like there's no belief in the things that they're saying out loud. And so, for example, yeah, I try to do this. I try to drink enough water. I definitely try my best to do this. I wish that I had this. I wish that this was my case. Or I'm really horrible at this thing, but I'm trying. So instead, like all of those conversations, we change to say, I am this thing, or I do this thing, or I have this thing, or I'm working on this thing, right? I'm working on my hydration. I'm working on my mindset practice. I believe I have control over my thoughts. I believe that I have control over how I spend my time. I plan my week instead of, I never have time to plan my week. Like, I just go with the flow and it feels horrible. I'm like, okay, well, you never have. Like, you're just stating that to be the truth when it's all just a choice, right? And so sometimes those choices, we're making them for ourselves without even realizing that we're doing it, right? Like we're making them for ourselves under the radar, basically, by using these affirming statements when we don't even realize that we're doing it. And so the concept of words matter for me is like, you got to stop using the automatic thoughts, which you guys have heard me talk about before. Like I'm a big fan of babysitting your thoughts enough that there are no automatic thoughts happening. And you're much more like intentional and aware and present with the things that are coming out of your mouth, whether it's statements or answers to questions or whatever. Like we don't want to just go through the motions. Like we want to be present and aware of the things that we're choosing to say and the impact that they have in all of the different ways that they have impact, right? So I guess maybe this whole conversation can be also about being present. But I think the biggest part is a lot of people have self-worth issues in America. Like can't speak as much to the rest of the world. I know that actually, my clients that are not in America, honestly, I've had similar conversations with them too. So it's just in the world, I guess. A lot of people have self-worth issues, whether they want to admit it or not. And that's the belief that they're worthy of having the things that they want. They're worthy of having a good life. They're worthy of having things be simple and happy and those types of things. We have this like underlining, deeply rooted belief that like everything's got to be hard and you must struggle in order to get to the other side, and then you get to the other side and there's more struggle, and that's just normal. And we don't have the choices that we actually do have. There's just a lot of the conversation, and what it does is it feeds into this belief system inside of us that we're not worthy. That we're not worthy to have a good day, that we're not worthy to enjoy every single day, that we're not worthy to have a good day, a good life, an enjoyable ride. Like I remember when I first started having things come to me with ease, like talk about one of the biggest struggles I've had as far as allowing things to come with ease and finally getting to a place of releasing the control, which was a comfort thing, right? Like it was comfortable for me to have quote unquote control over how things were coming to me and whatever, which is what made it into a struggle and made it into a lot of work. But when I could release that and say, okay, this can all happen really with ease. Like I don't have to do more. I'm already doing everything I need to be doing. I can just decide that I want the experience to be different and then start focusing on that and doing everything that I can to become, an energetic and match for that and in alignment for it and just believe in it. And so again, like I think that I used to hear people say things like I'm saying right now and be like, wait, okay, like that's cool and all, but how the fuck do I do that? Like that's not the way that my world works, or whatever. And so it becomes this interesting little game that we have to play with ourselves of saying, well, why not me? Right? Like, why can't that be my reality? Why can't I have days with ease? Why can't I receive money with ease? Why can't I have a body that feels good, looks good, that I'm confident in? Why can't I have these things? Like, that's what I think it is. You have to start questioning some of these beliefs and these things that you're saying out loud to yourself or in your head about what your reality just is, and just accepting, this thing, when really deep inside of you don't want it to be that way. Like, you want it to be different in some cases. And so it's like we talk ourselves into staying stuck and we don't even realize it. We talk ourselves into staying in a certain mindset. We talk ourselves into believing a certain thing about our reality and who we are and what we have to be, when in truth, like, you don't have to be anything. Let that sink in for a moment. You don't have to be anything. So instead, like, what if we took time to say, what if I had this? Like, I don't want it to be like this. And that was one of the things, like, I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I started speaking about it probably like 6 months ago, probably specifically with private clients and that. But it's like, I know that a lot of the things that I talk about, people are like, how do you catch that? Like, how do you catch the thought patterns like we're talking about right now, the words, the negative words and the not helpful words? How do you catch that belief pattern? Like, how do you catch that? And it's like, well, I catch it because it gives me a shitty feeling. I started paying attention to the situations, the words, the things that didn't feel good. And then when I first started, it was happening, like, I was thinking about it well after the fact, like, think the conversation would be had. I would make the decision. I would not stand up for myself. I would say the thing out loud in a conversation because it's what I would have always said. And then later I would be like, what the fuck? Like, why? Why did you say that? That feels so horrible. Like, that's even not in alignment with what you're doing. Like, why would you agree to that? Those types of things. And instead, what ends up happening, which I think is really cool, is we start to recognize, well, I don't like that feeling. And for me, it's that feeling that's the anchor. It's that feeling that triggers inside of me where I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing? What are you saying? What are you thinking? That's making that feeling happen, because that's the thing I don't want to feel ever. So why is it happening? And that for me has been the easier way to kind of navigate it, I guess you could say. And a lot of that comes from the conversation like we're talking about, of me going, wait a minute, I'm back in the car going, oh my God, I wish I would have said that. Why did I say this? Blah, blah, blah. And just learning from those moments and allowing myself to say, okay, so that didn't go exactly the way you wanted, or you said this thing instead. Like, why? Why'd you do that? Or, okay, we don't do that anymore. Slow down, calm down. And then I think about it, right? Like, it stays in my head. I make a decision. I make a promise to myself. I'm not going to do that. And then the next time a situation is presented and I have the opportunity or something, I feel it, like, a similar thing. Like I said, it's like a similar situation, which then gives you the opportunity to be like, hold on a minute. I want a different result. I don't want to feel that way. And so then you think about it and you then speak differently. You say the different word. You don't react that way. You don't engage in somebody's fucking gossipy bullshit or whatever it may be, right? Because words matter. Did you know that there are studies that say, and I think I've told you guys this in a podcast before, but it's still really interesting, so I'm going to say it again. Did you know that there are studies that show that our subconscious mind does not know the difference between us talking about someone else and us talking about ourselves? Did you know that? So that's why when people talk about how if you're gossiping and talking trash all the fucking time, you feel like shit. You overall don't feel well. You feel a lot less than good. And the fact of the matter is because your mind doesn't know the difference. Your mind thinks you're talking about yourself, and it's like, oh, wow, okay. And then when you start kind of, I don't know if you pay a lot of attention, but you start almost imitating some of that behavior, or it becomes the shit talking thing, right? It becomes like a normal for you. And in that spot, it's like, oh shit, I don't want that, but it happens before we recognize that it's happening. So there are studies that show that our brain doesn't know the difference, whether you're saying that guy's a fucking asshole and he's an idiot, or you're saying I'm an asshole and I'm an idiot. It doesn't know the difference, whether you're talking about yourself or you're talking about the guy down the street that you don't like. So the difference is it's like, why do we even feel the desire to say those things about that guy? You could dislike the neighbor, and when it comes up in conversation, you can just say, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Or, nope, we don't speak really. You know what I mean? You don't have to go into detail. You don't have to tell everybody, oh, we don't talk because he's really fucking loud and I don't like him because I saw him do this or whatever. Because that's the difference. See, why do we do that, right? Why do we feel the need to then go into this great fucking explanation with people about why we don't like this person, and then we're talking shit on this person before we even know it? We're deep in this conversation of talking trash, right? Why do we do that? We do it because it's a way to connect. Twisted, right? Twisted. It's a way to connect. When I say, hey, yeah, I saw him do this thing and it just really rubbed me the wrong way, and like I don't fucking like him. I think he's a loser. When you say that, the person you're talking to feels like you're sharing something intimate with them. They probably have a similar story that they're going to then tell you, like the general population, I should say. When you stop doing this and you start attracting people who don't do this, then this doesn't happen, because they would look at you like you were a fucking alien if you started talking shit on somebody. They'd be like, wait, who the hell is that? We don't do that. What is going on? But what the reason we do it without thinking, and it's such an automatic thing almost, is because it's a way to connect, and a way to try to like find a common ground with someone. Instead of talking about, hey, I really like apples. Do you like apples? Do you like apple pie? What do you do with apples? Do you eat them cold? Do you slice them? Like, I know this sounds like lame, but instead of having a conversation about anything fucking else or something that we enjoy, we end up bonding, quote unquote, over things that we hate. And now, granted, shit, I could go on to that conversation forever. I think we all saw a ton of that during the election, right? Where everybody in America was just bonding over who they hated more. And that was it. It wasn't like, what are the, things I believe in? What are the things that are important to me? Who's going to do more of the assistance on things that matter to me and that I believe in? Instead, it was like, I hate him because of this. You hate him too? Cool. Let's be best friends and hate together. But people have done that since the beginning of time. Hello, Hatfields and McCoys, friends. It's a real story, but it's a freaking lesson, because it's the truth. People like to bond over hatred and dislike of something. Yeah, I fucking hate her. And then two girls at the bar become best effing friends because they sit there and talk shit about why they both hate this girl. And then they bond over it. It's like, dude, why? Just that it's almost like drinking something toxic to your system. And so back to the whole concept of words matter. None of that feels good. Like, you might feel cool in the moment, talking trash, whatever, making jokes. But then, like, afterwards, it doesn't feel good. Those words don't feel good on your tongue. They don't feel good to digest. Like, what's the point, right? A bunch of meaningless conversation gets you nowhere. And then you just seek more meaningless conversation, blah, blah, blah. You continue to feel unworthy. You continue to feel unfulfilled. And the cycle continues, right? So it's definitely one of those things where you have to pay close attention. It's important. Like, you have the control to let go of a lot of the drama and bullshit that's in your life simply by choosing your words differently and choosing what you engage in differently. So I'm really going to just leave you with that. This one's going to be short and sweet because I just wanted to plant that seed and show some examples, because the more people that I can get to realize that, like, they want to actually have conversations of value. And here's the deal. You don't have to say things all the time. You're allowed to sit next to someone, say, hello, how's your day? I like your shoes. And then stop talking. Like, you don't have to find some hatred or struggle to bond over. You don't have to do that. You don't have to engage in that. But people will do it and throw it out there as a way for you to connect with them. And you don't have to bite. The more that you stop biting, the better off you're going to find yourself feeling over and over again, and the better you're going to have. Gosh, you have so much more mind space. You have so much more presence to choose conversations and choose words in your head that matter and that are helpful. And then that in itself, believe it or not, like the ripple effect from that and then into your self-worth and into your ability to focus and into your ability to grow and into your ability to be better and feel better, it all ripples from those things. So we're going to leave it there. I hope this conversation was helpful. I hope that you grab some sort of nugget from it. And even if maybe you just were like, yeah, I agree. That's amazing. Also, thank you so much for being here. As always, I absolutely am so grateful that you tune in and listen. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to share it with somebody. That is the way we get the word out. So the way that you can help support us is sharing this episode, making sure that you subscribe, and if you haven't done so already, you can go over to iTunes. You don't have to be an iTunes user to leave a review there, but go ahead and go over there and leave us a review, because that helps us get more traffic and more ranking. And as I've told you before, there is no funding other than like I fund this entire operation. So getting it in front of more people is the plan. So I appreciate your help in that matter. Wherever you are, have an amazing rest of your day. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email address is listed below. Goodbye.